Welcome back to day 47 of the Edulexis Complete Python course. Today, we are learning a crucial skill for real-world projects, how to work with CSV files. CSV stands for comma-separated values. Think of a CSV file as a simplified, plain text Excel sheet where every row is a line and each piece of data is separated by a simple comma. Whether you want to analyze data, save user information, or build automated tools, you will constantly interact with CSV files. Don't worry if you've never coded with files before. Today, we will break everything down step by step, starting from absolute zero. By the end of this video, you'll comfortably read and write your own data sheets using Python. Let's dive straight in. Before we write code, let's understand why CSV files are so popular. Unlike heavy Excel files, CSV files contain absolutely no formatting, charts, or formulas. They only hold pure, raw text data. This makes them incredibly lightweight, extremely fast to load, and perfectly readable by humans and computers alike. Every major spreadsheet tool like Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets can open a CSV instantly. In Python, learning to handle CSV files opens the door to data science, machine learning, and basic business automation. It bridges the gap between your running Python code and actual physical storage on your computer. Let's look at how Python lets us access them effortlessly. Open up your text editor or VS Code. To make our lives simple, Python comes with an excellent built-in module specifically called CSV. Because it is built directly into Python, you don't need to install anything at all using pip. All you need to do is import csv right at the very top of your script. This single line gives us access to powerful functions designed to read and write rows of data without corrupting them. Next, we need a data sample to work with. Let's assume we have a simple file called students.csv containing columns for names, ages, and courses. Let's see how to open and read it safely. To read a file in Python, we use the standard with open statement. We provide the file name to students.csv and set the mode to R, which stands for read. Using the with keyword is highly recommended because it automatically closes the file for us once we are finished, preventing data bugs or memory leaks. Inside this block, we create an object named reader by calling csv.reader file. This special reader object takes the raw commas and translates them into clean, structured Python lists behind the scenes. Let's find out how we can actually see the information hidden inside this reader object. Now, the reader object acts like an iterator. This means we can loop through it step by step using a classic for loop. We write for row in reader, and then simply print row. Look closely at the terminal window below as we run the script. Each single line in our CSV file is printed out neatly as a standard Python list of strings. This makes managing data extremely familiar since you already know how to index elements inside a list. However, notice something important. All the very first line printed out contains our table headers like name and age, rather than the actual student data. Let's fix that. In most spreadsheets, the first row describes what the columns mean. If we are performing math or extracting records, we don't want to process these column names as actual student records. To isolate them, we use Python's built-in next function. By calling header equals next reader right before starting our for loop, the reader extracts the first row and advances its internal pointer to the next line. Now, when the loop executes, it completely skips the header row and only prints out genuine data rows. This clean separation gives you perfect control over your dataset. Let's see how to extract single columns. Because each row is simply a list of values, you can pull out individual columns using their index positions. In Python, index 0 is the first column, which holds the student names. Index 2 holds the courses. Let's change our print statement inside the loop to look like this: name equals row 0 and course equals row 2. Then, we print a beautiful formatted string. Running this gives us clean, human-readable text. Sentences in the console instead of rough list brackets. It is a fantastic, straightforward way to filter data rows. Next, let's explore an even smarter, cleaner way to read files where we don't need to remember index numbers. Instead of standard lists, Python allows us to read files as dictionaries using csv.reader file. This is an incredibly popular method because it automatically maps the headers of your CSV file as keys for every single row. Now, inside our loop, each row behaves like a standard Python dictionary. Instead of guessing index 0 or index 2, we can fetch elements directly by their text column name, like row name, and row course. This prevents bugs if your CSV file column order changes unexpectedly later on. This method makes your code far cleaner, safer, and much easier to read for beginners. Now that we are masters at reading CSV files, let's learn how to create and write data to a brand new CSV file using Python. Writing data follows a very similar logical structure. We still use the with open block, but we change our mode option from R to W, which stands for write mode. Be careful, opening a file in W mode will create the file if it doesn't exist, but if it already exists, it will completely wipe out old content and start fresh. If you wish to append data to the end of an existing file instead, you would use mode here. Let's stick with write mode to build our new dataset. Inside our open block, we create a writer object by calling writer equals csv.writer f. To add data, our main tool is the writeRow method. This function accepts a single list of strings or values and writes them onto a single line, automatically separated by commas. First, we write our header row with columns like product, price, and stock. Right below that, we call writeRow again with actual data values like laptop, 1200, and 5. Every single time you call writeRow, Python automatically handles the formatting and jumps down to create a clean new line for your next record. Let's talk about a small but critical trick that saves hours of frustration. Notice that inside my open function, I explicitly added a parameter called newLine equals with an empty string. Why do we do this? If you leave this parameter out, Windows systems especially will add a hidden extra line break after every single row. This leaves ugly blank lines between your rows of data, which breaks data tools later on. By explicitly setting newLine equals, you force Python to let the CSV module control the line breaks perfectly. Always make it a habit to add this parameter whenever you write CSV files. If you have a large list containing multiple rows of data, calling writeRow separately for every single item becomes slow and tedious. Luckily, Python provides a fantastic brother function named writeRows with an S at the end. This allows you to pass a full multidimensional list, which is simply a list of lists, all at once. Look at this example on screen. We have a list named data holding information for a mouse and a monitor. By calling writer.writeRows data once, Python instantly loops through the data internally and populates all rows in a single step. It keeps your code minimal and efficient. Just like reading with dictionaries, you can write data using dictionaries with csv.writer. This requires an extra argument called field names, which is a list of your column headers. After initializing, you call writer.writeHeader to write the columns onto the first line. Now, when writing rows, instead of a standard list, you pass a clean Python dictionary matching those keys. This is amazing, because it ensures that even if you pass the dictionary values in a random mixed order, the writer aligns them perfectly under the correct column header every single time. Let's look at common beginner mistakes. First is the famous File not found error. This happens when Python looks for a CSV file that doesn't exist in your current folder. Always ensure your script and file are in the exact same workspace directory. Second, some European CSV files use semicolons instead of commas to separate values. If you try to read them normally, everything gets bunched into one column. To fix this easily, simply add delimiter equals inside your reader setup. Knowing these minor details prevents hours of confusion and makes your file scripts incredibly robust. To test your skills today, here is a quick mini-challenge. Create a small CSV file containing your top 3 favorite movies and their release years using Python. Try reading it back using both lists and dictionaries. Practice is how programming concepts stick. Today we learned how to read data sequentially, leverage dictionaries for cleaner code, and safely write structured files. If you found this video helpful, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and drop a comment below. Tomorrow on day 48, we take file management further. Thank you for watching. Edulexis, keep practicing, and see you next time.
Thank you for watching. Like if you learned something, share with your circle, and subscribe for more.